Welcome to the Goats, where we go deeper than just the splits in training and into the minds and philosophies of the world's best trail and endurance athletes to find out what they can teach us about this little thing that we call life. I hope you enjoy. If you haven't heard of the name Billy Curtis before, you should probably start paying attention. Billy Curtis has had a fantastic start to the trail year. He's placed second place at the Madeira Ultra Trail. He placed 10th place at the Trans Gran Canaria against a amazingly stacked field of some of the world's best runners. And then just recently broke the course record and won at the Yandina 50K on almost, what I found out today, no carbohydrates, which is an impressive feat to run as fast as he did on that course. But I was super lucky today that I got to sit down with Billy and go past the results and the outcomes and talk a lot more about, why Billy loves to run, why it's so easy for him. A lot of our discussion today came around this theme that, running doesn't really have to be hard if it's something that you just do every day and it's just a part of something that you enjoy doing every morning when you wake up. We talk a little bit about his past and how he was a very competitive footy player and how he made that transition into trail running. And then we also talk about, a little bit of his style of training and how he sees training and the benefits that it's given to his performance, his success, and his happiness in life. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Billy Curtis. There we go. Billy Curtis, good to have you on, buddy. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, really good. Thank you for having me on. I've always thought you should have a podcast after our chats in the past.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know that I was going to start a podcast. It was in the works for a little bit, but just wanted to get the opportunity for people to hear some amazing stories of people like yourself, which have had a fantastic little year of running and training. How have you been digesting everything that's happening so far?
Yeah, really well, I think. It takes a few years, I think, to get into the rhythm of training quite a lot and going to races and trying to fit in work and saving some money, making some money, and then risking spending the money on races and doing what you love doing. So, yeah, I think I'll slowly shift it around a little bit the next few years and try to find one location to be and stay. But yeah, I think it's going well. I think it's going good. I'm progressing, so that's always good.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you got to live both sides of the card, to know what it's like.
Yeah, definitely. But I think like late 20s, you start to really think, oh, wow, some people are like really taking their life very seriously with work and buying houses and having kids. And you're just like, oh, God, I'm just running around in the mountains and trails. But I see people like yourself and Liam McKenzie, both of you have inspired me to sort of, live a bit in the mountains and spend time traveling and trying to create a little bit of a different life. So, yeah, thanks for that firstly already.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that too, right? Like that mental, place of like, there's probably people who are in those situations, right? Who are looking at you going like, wow, look at like all this awesome stuff that he's doing. And then you're kind of on the other side like, oh, wow, look at they've, got a house and they've sorted themselves with kids and stuff. And it's like, kind of like no matter what situation there's always pros and cons, right? And it's just about trying to find that story that kind of works for you, right?
Yeah, and the grass is always greener, isn't it? People always think that, oh, if I could be doing that, it'd be so nice. But yeah, there's always risks to every decision that you make in life, I think. Like, yeah. You just got to be happy all the time as well. Like with any of the risks that you take, you just got to be happy with them and go,
Yeah.
life's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's no, I totally relate with that because that's like, and it's cool that you say that. You've seen that I've tried to create this life between running and still having a family and these things, but I'm still looking at some of the other people going, oh man, they've bought a house, they've done this, and and I'm still just like trying to run around in the trails like yourself, right?
yeah, I think if you're happy and content doing it though, it's like life's always going to be pretty positive and pretty good, even if you're under a bit of strain and financially or with your life. Like if you're always doing things that you like and you're around people that do the same or have a similar perspective, then I don't know, it's all pretty fun. It's all pretty good.
And I think like happiness is totally subjective, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's people in the world who literally could have nothing and be the happiest person in the world. You could be around them and they're full of energy and they enjoy everything they're doing, right?
Oh, definitely. And you even see this in the trail running world, having gone to like Southeast Asia and doing some races and being around that area doing some running. There's like so many really good athletes that just have nothing, come from nothing, can't travel anywhere to race, and they just love it. And they're so good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you see a bit of that, especially in the trail running world where we're quite, it's like quite a wealthy demographic of people who can travel and have some money. And then you see like other parts of it in, yeah, Southeast Asia, especially like there's just incredible athletes and really happy people that are spending time in the mountains. It's really, I don't know, it's really inspiring, I think.
Yeah, it's actually like a good question. Do you, having kind of lived that life, do you think it's possible? Like in your mind, do you think it's possible to have be as competitive as you can and really reach that upper level and still have everything like the house, the family, the kids, the whole lot of everything? Do you think it's possible to do that, or do you think you kind of have to start maybe with this life of a little bit less and work into that?
Oh, it depends where you come from, but I'm gonna find out. I think the next like sort of 5 to 8 years, I'll probably find out how to do both of those things at once, and
Yeah,
probably ask for advice from people like yourself that are going into that position or already have established a few of those things already.
yeah,
So, yeah, no, I'll test it out. I think I'm 27 now, so I've sort of got, 35 to 38 is probably the peak, I reckon, for ultra trail
yeah.
running. So we can work that out over the next few years. So there's no time crunch really.
Man, I think you're going to get to like 35 and 38, and then that threshold's going to be pushed to like 40, 45.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah. And I'm looking at like that too because, like in athletics, in any sport, I can't remember the term for it, but like depending when you start the sport, if you start at 12, you probably got until 18 years or whatever it is, this number in a sport that you can compete at the highest level for the most part on average. And if you start mid 20s, then you're probably going to push it to 40 or beyond once you sort of get into the higher levels of a sport, especially. So you can extend it if you start a bit later. And you see this in trail running too. People who start a bit later, extending it a bit
Yeah.
further.
Unless you're Ludo in Hard Rock.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I think he started early. I think he actually
Oh,
was like, he's got races from like early 2000s on his Itcha profile. I went out and looked the other
oh,
day. I was like,
he's
wow.
hectic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so impressive. Yeah, but it's cool, right? Because it gives. I don't know about you, but it gives you that kind of hope, right? That you're like, you know what? Maybe like if you really wanted to, and you were still in that mind space, to still trying to perform that, it's not impossible, right?
Yeah. I think like the environment that you're in as well. So this is a reason that I want to move closer to the mountains, closer to big mountains at your front door, because if you can have access to that, then you'll continue living that lifestyle whilst like having a job, having a family, and having all those other things in life. So you can jump out the front door and do like yourself. You can go down into the valley, down the further steps, straight from your door, basically. I think
Yeah,
so you can continue doing it, and you're not sort of stuck in a city having to leave your family or leave things to go on training camps or training days. So it's more of like a lifestyle that you're living, which is what people do in Europe. It's just a
yeah,
lifestyle.
and it is like if it is something that is going to be a massive part of your life, and you do want to have like a family and still give to them, right, and make sure that they're a major priority. Like that's why we did it. We moved to the mountains because I was like, I want to be able to do this, but then still be with my girls and my partner, and and make sure that I'm not sacrificing an extra 2 hours of driving every day just to like get to mountains and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And in Australia, we don't have the as much of a culture of living close to national parks or close to nature or close to mountains because we just have it's a very newly sort of developed in terms of infrastructure in cities. So we've built things on coasts where there's no access to mountains really. So it's a bit harder to actually find houses or places that you can live close to nature, mountains, good trails. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
more, yeah, a little bit more difficult. But yeah, the benefits of living in those areas for growing up is amazing. Like, I grew up farming, and that was really great retrospectively. But also growing up, if you could grow up next to some mountains and trails, biking, motorbiking, kayaking, climbing, trail running, like it's just a playground for kids, isn't it?
Well, I mean, let's while we're there, let's go back to that. For people who don't know you as well, tell us a little bit about your childhood, like where you started, what kind of started pointing you in the direction of trail running. Like, who was Billy Curtis as the the teenager running around?
Oh, there was no direction to trail running at all. I probably would have looked at well, I did look at athletics and runners as like, oh, why would you do that? That's such a silly sport. It's little bit lame because you're a rugby player and you're like running. That's like, oh, I do that for training. I don't want to do that like in the afternoon. I have to do that. But yeah, I played a lot of rugby and like at a good level for like an under, what do you call it? Like under 16, 18s, is sort of as high as you could go in your sort of region until you get to like your state selections, that sort of stuff. But yeah, outside of that was just growing up and living on a farm. We grew pumpkins and watermelons. So maybe the pumpkin picking has helped with a bit of muscular endurance and being out picking pumpkins
Were you
for
like the
10 years.
Halloween? Were you like the Halloween king? Like, were all your friends coming to you for like pumpkins and stuff? Like,
Oh no, no way! I was so embarrassed when I go to a mate's place. Mum would drop me off, and she'd bring in a pumpkin for their parents, and I used to think it was so embarrassing. Just go, no, don't do it, don't. But no, no Halloween pumpkins either. I always told Dad he should have grown some Halloween pumpkins. You could sell them for like $20 each. So yeah,
oh, so you had like the little, like the tinier ones?
yeah, Japs and anyone who knows their pumpkins, Japs,
Yeah,
Jarradols, Queensland Blues, yeah.
I do not know my pumpkins. I do now.
But yeah, that's what I just worked down the farm growing up as well. Just being a farm kid, you work your free labour, and
Yeah.
yeah, played rugby, and that was about it.
Yeah, and so obviously there was some sort of like shift at some point, right, where you're in this footy world, right? I've listened to a couple other podcasts, and you've told me briefly that it was pretty high level. Like you weren't just competing in like your rec leagues or anything like that. Like you were competing at a pretty high level. What was the thing that started maybe pushing you away from that kind of rugby life and pointing you somewhere else?
Yeah, I think once I got to the stage of it being more serious, so when you're in a high school or just out of high school, it is serious, but you're still driven around by your family and the coaches really look after you. But once you start to become independent at 18 to 20 years old, and that's when it starts to be serious with the rugby league. And yeah, at that stage I was training with the high teams, but I would never play and I could never get like socially involved because a lot of it revolves around drinking a lot on weekends after games, doing some extra, things, substances
Yeah,
outside of it as well. And I'm just, anyone who knows me, I'm just not into any of that. So I could never really gel with it. And then, at training and everything as well, a lot revolves around like your social lives together. So I just wasn't involved with it and decided to stop and actually focus on A grade in the Sunshine Coast, which it's not a super high level, but it's still a decent competition. And yeah, within my preseason, I was having a really good block of training, which is much more powerlifting, sprint training, aerobic training too, and just cut a bit too much weight and was doing really heavy strength training. I think I was 80 kilos, which was my lightest playing rugby since like grade 11 probably. And I think I had like really strong lifts in the gym, and yeah, just got tackled after a high bomb was put up and just herniated my L5S1 in my lower back. And after that it was kind of like, well, we're done. We can't really play anymore because your sciatic is just destroying you and costs too much to get it all. Spend a few $1,000s trying to fix it all and too much effort. So I went, stuff that. I don't even enjoy it anymore. So I'll go travel and do some other things in life, I think.
Yeah. So was that straight into the trail, or was that more like you started traveling and kind of doing your own thing for a bit?
Yeah, like even when I was traveling around Europe and studying over there, I go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week doing the same training I used to. Started doing, some hiking and maybe some jogging, but I wouldn't even remember. But more hiking and being interested in trying to get up some mountains and doing a bit of bouldering and climbing as well. And then yeah, over time, just seeing really cool areas you can access, but you need to be hiking for many days. So just trying to cut it shorter and move faster just slowly sort of went into the trail running, but I wouldn't call it that back then. I wouldn't even call it anything. You're just going and doing a day of something in the mountains that you wanted to do.
And so it sounds like too, because like I think that like for a lot of people, that transition point where like, okay, this sport's ended, I'm gonna go do my own thing, travel. But you said there, you're like, oh, I was still in the gym, still doing the routines, still doing, staying fit essentially. What do you put it down to as the thing that keeps you constantly trying to stay fit, trying to stay active, never, even though you've had different, changes of sport and discipline in your life, what's that thing that's kept you going the whole time, do you think?
Oh, I don't want to know what it is. Yeah, actually, because maybe if I know, then I'll stop. I just wake up in the morning and all I want to do is go and do some form of training or movement. Like, I don't know why. Like, even on the farm here, like I'm starting work at 6:30. It's not super early, but I'm up at 4:30 and doing an hour 15 before work, and you don't even think. You just put on your head torch and you start running, and things work themselves out. And if it wasn't running, I would have had a makeshift gym in the back of the shed training there, like not for a goal or a purpose or an outcome, just because I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just something you did when you're a teenager that you really enjoyed, and it's routine, and you can't get rid of it now. So
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
part of who you are now.
yeah, and it's not addicting either. It's not like
Yeah,
I wake up and I feel like I have to. You just do. I think. Yeah.
yeah. No, I love that. I resonate a lot with that for sure. So what happens in the times then when other things are going on and maybe interrupt that process of going for that run or doing whatever? Is it oh no, I have to do this thing, or is it, oh actually no, I'll just do it tomorrow and this morning we'll go do this?
Yeah, I'll just not sleep as much, I think. Like if something comes up, and I'll just take 4 hours of sleep that night and go do it. And then, yeah, I think I've never been in this situation yet, and I've been careful with the work that I've selected, like my occupations for periods of time, because if it is going to really affect me being able to do the things that I want to, then I won't do it. So I think that's
Yeah.
helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you're always prioritizing that morning time for yourself.
Definitely, yeah. I'm definitely like with my own time and space. I'm very introverted with other people, like yourself. Like obviously, I love talking and love having a chat, but yeah, like today would be a very introverted day without, hanging out with you on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. So, obviously too, you grew up in the Glasshouse Mountains, right? For the most
Yeah,
part.
until like
Yeah.
9 years old, and then moved and lived in Bundaberg, which is the flattest place in
Yeah.
the world for
Yeah.
until 15, 16, 16. Then I moved back down to Glasshouse to do the rugby at the higher level. But yeah,
Yeah. And then was the Glass House like your first stomping grounds for trail running? Was that where you first kind of started getting out in the trails?
yeah. Well, I think I went up Tidborough a few times with family. Like I think 5 or 6 went up Tidborough with dad and our uncle or great uncles, I think. But not memorable in terms of being a kid wanting to do it again. I was kind of shit scared of it, to be honest. I was just
Yeah.
like, this is weird. Why are we up here?
Yeah.
But I did move down with one of my good mates to play rugby. We were both playing at that level, and we did start doing the mountains, and we really enjoyed it. We'd sort of push ourselves to be going up the mountains, and then one day, this is years before doing trail running, we did do all of the mountains at once. So we're sort of
Yeah.
big boys, lifting in the gym. We're like, oh, this is such a mission. We can't believe we did this. It took us like literally 12 hours to get to them all and get up and down. And we had like, I think we had a big box of KFC at the end or something like that. It was the hardest thing in the world.
I think I've seen that round on Instagram a couple times recently from people on the sunny coast. Yeah.
Yeah, but we drove. We just drove to them. We drove
Yeah,
to East,
literally.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen people like on Instagram from the sunny coast being like, we're doing all the mountains, driving to them.
Yeah. And now you're like,
All
each one's...
fucking bros. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very difficult, mind you, but they're all only 400 to 600 meters in distance to get to the top.
Yeah.
It's like not
Yeah.
very far. Looking back now, it's a big achievement. If you've done that, big achievement.
Yeah, for sure. No, I had that same inclination. I don't know what it is about that, but even when I lived there, I'm like, oh, I should try and do that. I never pulled pulled the pin on it and did it. But yeah, I always had that inclination to try and do it too when I was on the sunny coast.
Yeah. And they're beautiful mountains. And I think, as the question you asked before, yeah, they probably did impact my interest in trail running a bit. Yeah. Because I think that I felt like Glasshouse Mountains always felt like home. Like because you grow up as a baby and a child, I guess, seeing everything around here. So when I moved back, like at 16, I was like, wow, everything feels so familiar, but so distant. So then trail running kind of did become something that, oh, wow, I just ran from this childhood memory to this one. And I wasn't like thinking about it really, but just you are at the same time subconsciously, I guess. So it was like, yeah, I think I felt very comfortable this being the first place that I started doing like training, I suppose, for trail running rather than just the long hiking, fast packing sort of thing.
Yeah, that's cool. And I remember you telling me before too that when you started like properly training, you started to do some pretty like serious reps of some of the mountains. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I used to love just spending a lot of time training. And if you're doing the mountains, like it's very slow going. So I guess the time and duration is quite high. Even if you're doing like 4 to 5 reps, it can take a long time to get up those mountains and down. So yeah, definitely. And including them in long runs too. So if I was going out for 30, 40K, I'd include a couple in there. So that'd extend like a run out to 4 to 5 hours quite quickly if you're doing that.
And you know what I think about when I hear you say this is like you were definitely the guy. No, you weren't on Strava at that point, surely.
I was. I had like 3 followers.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I had like 3 followers, yeah.
Because I was thinking of like I remember when I was back there and doing them, and it might have been a similar time. Like I'm thinking like when I first moved over here in 20. Well, what are we now? 2017-ish, 2018.
Yep.
That's kind of when I was like stomping around the Glasshouse Mountains. But you know, you're looking at the segments on Strava and different things like that. And then I'm hearing now that you're the dude who was doing it 3-4 times, and you know I would see the segments of like double Beerwah or something, and it was like, but I don't know if I ever saw your name, and I was like, you're the one who was obviously just doing way more than everyone else, but the segments weren't coming through.
Yeah, I also had back then I also had a different account that's like a llama or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but and I probably didn't record a lot as well at the time so I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely
That's what I'm thinking too, yeah.
down in Scenic Rim as well. I used to do a lot of like repeats on those mountains too.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So tell us then, you know, you're starting to get this itch for trail running. What was the first thing that drew you to it? Was it just, hey, cool, you know, this looks awesome, I can do this? What was the draw to trail running?
No, I didn't think it was awesome for quite a while. I just did I did like a 50K run around Bundy. I went and visited my family, which I rarely ever went back to Bundy because I'd much prefer people come down to the sunny coast. There's more to do. But I went up to Bundy and I did like a 50K run. It was under 5 minute pace for 50K. And I did it with like 2 of these amino acid, you know, the Chemist Warehouse, they sell like the amino acids, like the really tasty ones.
Yeah.
They're delicious.
Yeah.
So good. And I did it like with 2 300 ml like popper bottles of those. And I just wanted to do it. And I went and did that and I put it up on Strava. I probably could show you later.
Yeah.
And someone said to me after that, they're like, oh, wow, if you just did a 50K race, you'd win it. And I was like, no, I don't even, like, that's not even a thing. And they're like, yeah, they're around Glasshouse. And I was like, oh, I've been doing all my training around Glasshouse. I'll just go do one then. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I went and did a race and my 2 mates come and supported me. They actually ran with me for like 10K of it. So that was very not on, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the race was literally where I'd been training the whole time. Started at Mount Beerburrum and just sort of went up around the outside of all the mountains and back. And yeah, I think I ran that with just some like 500 mils of coconut water. And it was a pretty good time. It was a pretty good run too. Like looking back, I'm like, oh, wasn't bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah. That's the ignorance is bliss sometimes, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the block before that. That's where I did probably, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks of like 140, 160K between that. So I guess that probably helped a lot too. But I didn't know what distance to run. It just sort of went, oh, those elites are running 200 plus K, so I don't know, just do a bit less
Yeah,
than those.
I've heard you talk about that before. That your first understanding of trail, and I think this is kind of a really cool thing to think about. Is like the the way you come into trail is going to be dictated by the things that you are experienced and you see around you, right? And I've heard you say before that the first thing that you got exposed to, right, was whoa, Jim Walmsley, Killian Jornet. Look what these guys are running. Is that kind of correct? Like looking at their training and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, pretty much. And then I'd say
Yeah.
just local guys like Tom Brimlow. I used to look at his training, very high volume, like 100-mile weeks, quite often back then. I'm pretty sure anyway, like at least around that. So I used to look at those people and go, whoa, if that's what they're doing, well, I don't know. That's what it is. It's not like a,
Yeah.
it's not like a stepping point to go to, like 80K, 90K, 100K. It's just, oh, that's what you do. So you just go do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's like, yeah, that's cool because your frame of reference was already much larger, right? And
Yeah.
you also, it sounds like you didn't look at it as like, oh, this is like, look at them, they're so amazing, I could never be like them. You just kind of looked at it as like, oh, if that's what, that's what we do in trail running, then I guess I gotta be able to run that much and that far.
Yeah. Like I think I look at racing and that similarly now is there's no pressure. You just go, I don't know, you just go do it. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out, like whether it's a training block running a lot or a race or anything you're doing. But I don't know, the whole training and racing and everything, it's quite easy to do because everything's available, whether it's like training knowledge or other people's Stravas or other people's racing results. To do something, you just not follow people, but everything's in front of you to know what to do. A coach can really help because they can apply it for you,
Yeah.
but everything is available. Like there's no big secrets, I don't think. So I think I've always looked at it like that. Like, yeah, there's some people that are supernatural that you can't emulate that. But for the most part, everyone's pretty similar when it comes to like training and being able to do something. Like we're all people, humans, come from different starting points, but for the most part, if you have a real idea of your starting point, you can do most things. Yeah, I think.
And yeah, I love that you say that because we had this guy who came in to work with us at one point when I was working in like doing leadership conferences and well-being stuff in schools. And he came in and essentially said, yeah, like a lot of the times people get themselves in this mindset of like, oh man, like there's no way I can, do that or achieve what this person's achieved. And he said, the always way to look at it is like, can you find someone in the world who has been able to do that or achieve that or come from where you are and, be able to improve this much or be this good? And if you can, then you can do it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
If other people have done it, then you can probably do it too.
yeah, and we're just going to run into the biggest cliche in the moment, like the biggest cliche you could ever say, which is basically, if I can do it, then anyone can do it. And it's like so annoying when you hear that because you're like, no, that's not true. But it is kind of true.
Yeah.
Cliches are there because they're true. Like,
Yeah. Sorry, little phone call, but
No, you're right.
yeah, I totally agree, and I kind of look at it as like, yeah, like you said, there's gonna be those Killian Jornets and those stuff like that, and like, yeah, you might not be able to, and you say might not, right? Because who knows? There could be people who could come from even further than than it took him to improve and get to where he is, right? But it's almost like everyone's, maybe started at a certain point on this ladder of like genetics maybe. And, some people are, more genetically gifted than others. Like you can see that. Some people naturally more inclined to sports. Some people, it takes them a little bit longer. But like I've always been of the mindset of like, everyone can get there. It might just take some people a little bit more time and consistency to get to that point than others. Whereas it might come a little bit more naturally for some, right? But everyone can get to those points as, depending on how hard they want to work for it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. And I'll add one other thing is a lot of the people that are getting to those points also have controlled their like environment a lot more. So some people, you're just going through life and you end up accumulating a lot of stress, a lot of things happening in your life. So your starting point might be further away. And then other people just naturally have never like gone and got a lot of external stresses or things in their life have sort of allowed them, like myself, like I haven't got a lot of external stress in life as just a probably just sheer luck of how my life has sheer luck for the trail running side of things of just how my life's played out the past 10 years. So my starting point is more from those external things. It's higher, not necessarily from like my genetics, but I do completely agree. Yeah, that's just one thing I'd add is look at your external environment and maybe how that's can be holding you back a little bit as well to getting to another point.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. If you have like, any advice or anything that you could give to people, if they feel like because I know personally as a coach, I know there's a lot of people who feel like they have a lot of those external pressures that make, trying to get out and do the runs like hard and difficult. And it's obvious, it's there, it's very present, right? Would you have any, tips or maybe ways of thinking or stuff that, maybe can help them navigate some of those external pressures or make things feel easier or actually be easier?
I think like it's sleep and food is the big one. So sleep, you got to find your own way to set that circadian rhythm in place and just keep it consistent, which can be hard because a lot of external factors involved there. But nutrition, I don't know, probably buy a slow cooker for $30 and just chuck all the cheapest vegetables in there, just all the cheapest vegetables in there, a nice flavor and some, if you eat some meat, some healthy meat, some nice grass-fed beef or something, or yeah, whatever it is, and just cook a heap, put it in containers and sit it in the fridge. And sorry if it doesn't taste amazing, but it's going to be like a big step forward to having like consistency of diet and food and saving time and money. And time and money then can be used for things like training, going to a race or a training camp, or setting aside money for less financial stress in the future. So I'd say, yeah, like food is probably the big one, the big cost and the big element that helps with performance as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's a fun little question. What's your go-to meal? What's the one that you'll find yourself eating like most often?
Oh, it'd probably be, if I had a slow cooker all the time, it probably would be just chucking a heap of different types of potatoes, beetroot, carrot, broccoli, everything into a slow cooker, and with a bit of like cheap, good quality meat. I think just chuck that in, cook it up, put it in containers. Literally what I just recommended. I love it. I reckon it tastes so good. Other than that, it'd be like roast vegetables and a small piece of meat. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Nice and easy, eh? Rice in there? Is that like?
Yeah,
Or do you
definitely.
just go veggies and meat?
I eat a really high quantity of food, so I've got to actually be careful with, like, the volume of food I eat is extreme. So yeah, when I start eating a bit too much rice, it can actually put me in a bit too much of a calorie surplus. So I'm starting to
Okay.
prioritize like the white rice around more intense training periods or days. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then it's primary like veggies and meat around that then for the most part.
Definitely. Try not to eat anything processed other than at work. I'll have like some, maybe like some protein bars, stuff like that that's non-perishable. So then when I'm out in the tractor, I can eat it and it's not going to go bad and it's palatable
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Constant
Yeah.
snacking.
Cool. Yeah. There you go. I guess kind of moving on to the next part. Was there a moment within your trail running, maybe it was an experience, maybe it was something that happened in a race, was there like a breakthrough moment for you that kind of things just went, oh, this is it, this is what I love doing? Was there anything that was ever that trigger for you?
Yeah, I think that all of it. Every part from the training first thing in the morning to going to an event to racing to the travel around an event. I really like the travel and I really would love to get to events early so I could run in the area and just experience the area. But then I've also got fortunate to travel a fair bit too, to run around quite a lot. So I'd say everything from the boring training like uphill treadmills to Stairmasters all the way to doing like a race in the middle of Borneo. So everything in between is what encourages me and what I enjoy. So I'm lucky that I don't need to have like a thing that I really have to cling to for joy in it. I just enjoy it all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. It sounds like the waking up every morning and doing that session is the thing that just keeps you going every day.
I think so. Yeah.
And that makes I'd imagine too. Then like that probably makes a lot of other aspects of training and racing feel really easy for you, right? Like maybe not having the race you wanted, or maybe feeling pressure going into a race. Like those things, would you agree that feel a little bit easier to manage when you just focus on getting up and doing that next session the next day?
Yeah, definitely. Because as much I do race a fair bit, but I also don't like racing because I like to train and I like to keep things in a rhythm. So I don't like the following week after a race. I don't like having
Mm.
to not have that routine that I like because you have to sort of manage the little bits of stress. But yeah, exactly. I do feel like nerves going into a race. Like I have Transcend next week and I'm managing my week into it, and there's a few more moving parts that like give you anxiety, not so much like the race itself, but more when do I plug a rest day in, when do I pull back a session, because you do want to be prepared for the race too. So that's more the things I get a bit anxious about. It's like, oh, if I do something wrong in the next week, then that performance might then not be as good. So that's more the anxiety around it. But
Yeah,
I don't know. The race is, it's just, the race is the race. It's just a run.
yeah. And you're gonna get there with the fitness that you get there with, right?
Yeah, you can't change much. And yeah,
Yeah.
bad races are just bad races. Like you, everyone's gonna have them at some point, and the best of the best have them. So
It's no different than having a bad training session, right? Because realistically, even though it's a race, it's still, almost like one training session in the grand scheme of things, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's always so many like positives to come out of it as well, I think.
Mm. Yeah. Always something to learn for sure. What's when you look at your training, right? Like going into a race, getting up each morning, what are some things that you feel like your like principles or ways of training that you feel like you constantly live by that kind of like set the tone for you as an athlete?
Probably extra easy. Like you'll look at my training paces and heart rate, and it's just looks almost too leisurely to even build fitness. But
Mm.
I just completely disagree. I think you can train most of your volume, especially if you're running a good amount, like very easy intensity, and you're making the adaptations that you are probably are going to be if you're constantly looking at sitting in like bottom to middle of zone two. You could probably do a lot of your volume, especially once you get fitter at zone one, and then make your sessions a bit more specific, or maybe because your zone two moves up quite a lot, then you can start doing like sessions of zone two because it's quite a fast pace. So I'd say that I keep a baseline of a good amount of volume year round at a very easy intensity, so I never sort of overload the the volume side of things. It always feels very manageable, and I always feel like I could run more in a block. Like I never feel like I I shouldn't have run that much. It's always I push the session too hard, or I pushed a race in the middle of the block too hard. It's never the volume because I keep it
Yeah.
very easy. Like you
Very
probably what
manageable. Yeah.
yeah. If we ran together some mornings, you'd just be like, "What are you doing? You're going so slowly."
I'd probably love it. Let's go.
Yeah,
Especially in my fitness right now, I'd be like, yeah, go slower.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess if people do get a bit bored of training, try it. Try just dropping it back way slower, and just
Mm.
chill and listen to a podcast, walk for a bit, jog for a bit. You're not losing fitness doing that. You're still probably going to build on some other capacity slightly. So
Mhm.
it's not a bad
And
thing.
I think you didn't quote me on this thing because I'm kind of blurred with the ideas behind it. But Jack Daniels, famous coach, he talks about this idea or principle that, from what I understand, is accurate. That when you get to about 60% of like your max heart rate, the actual like stroke volume from your heart doesn't actually increase any further by that point. So the adaptations that you're having up to 60% end up being like the as heart wise end up being like the most ideal heart conditions you can actually get. And even once you pass 60%, the only thing that's happening now is you're having to recruit more glycogen and do all these other things, but your heart is actually, I think, pumping out the same amount of volume. Don't quote me if someone else knows, maybe comment and clarify on that if they've heard that one. It was a while when I heard it. But the actual stroke volume of the heart and the amount of blood it's pumping out, I think, is the same once it hits 60% and onward. So you're actually training the heart almost to its max, other than how many beats it's beating obviously increases, right?
Yep.
But the actual stroke volume up to 60% hits its max there. And
Yeah.
so
Okay. Yeah.
even though you're beating more beats per minute once you keep going higher, right? You've hit the max amount of stroke volume of blood up 60% of your max. And so the idea you're kind of saying is like if you train at that kind of 60% of your max heart rate, there is a lot of huge adaptation to be created just in that zone there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the sort of practical applications of that have been done across like your cross country skiing, biathlon, some trail running, orienteering, less so cycling, I think, of working in these very low intensities and building huge, huge foundations, and then applying those foundations later on in a race specific block. Yeah, so I think there's quite a lot of especially practical training applications of this, and also like the tendon and ligament and structural kind of benefits too is huge. Like a lot of people who have done those long distance hiking and long distance adventures and that they have a musculoskeletal and tendon and ligament that system that is just like unbreakable. So even if you're not looking to build yourself up aerobically, if you can just get a bit of time on your feet, I guess. Terrible way of calling it, time on your feet. But yeah, it can
Yeah.
benefit in other ways too that are not fitness related because we get so obsessed with like fitness.
We think of that intensity first, right? Whereas, like, you know, in order to adapt and train, there has to be a degree to progressive overload that has to happen, right? But it doesn't have to just be the intensity, right? If you dial back the intensity, and increase that volume, you're still getting that progressive overload, right? That's going to give you a more robust, mechanical system, right? And
Definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
and that's awesome. I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it can be confusing the training for endurance and that as well because when you like progressive overload is important, but also stacking the same amount of volume into a week for a long period of time in endurance training is also progressive overload because you're progressively doing more training. People I think assume you've got to like progressively overload like the volume or the sessions, but actually just consistency is in itself progressive overload. Unlike strength
Yeah.
training where progressive overload still kind of works strength training if you're just consistently doing the same weight, but for the most part, you do have to add a percentage of your 1 rep max or 3 rep max over time to see progressive
Yeah.
overload. But at the same
Yeah.
time, sorry, this is off tangent, a lot of Olympic lifters just accumulate more volume of the same weight. So a more total kilograms lifted over a session over a long period of time rather than
Yeah.
progressively overload a single weight because structurally you are actually making some good adaptations as well. If that makes sense.
Well,
Sorry.
and progressive overload isn't just that, like you said, it's not just that weekly view, right? It's not just from one week to the other. Progressive overload can be over multiple years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, you 1 year you trained and you did 2,000, right, kilometers, and then the next year you do 2,250. That's progressive overload, and there's going to be some sort of, mechanic or advantage you're going to get from that aerobically or whatever because you've stacked these years together and you did a little
Yeah.
bit more in this next year, and even though it's a tiny bit, you've stacked all this time together. That's still progressive overload. Yeah.
Yeah, and more importantly, that's 4,250 hours rather than 2,000 hours. If that makes sense. That's like it's the whole because it's 2 years
Yeah,
of
yeah,
training.
yes,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Like
Yeah,
that's the big thing. It's like
yeah,
that's consistency. That's
yeah,
what it is. It is that total duration you've spent in a sport
yeah,
there's like a 10,000 hour rule which wouldn't apply for endurance training because we need so much training, but
yeah, yeah.
that is like yeah, what we're looking for.
That's it. Yeah, you're still by stacking those hours, you're still stacking, the increase of experience and other little adaptations that are happening with your body, whether it's genetically too to some point, right? Like I'm sure people's bodies after you stack multiple years are probably changing on a physiological and genetic level to some degree in parts, right? Because of how much time they've spent doing the same thing and being able to do it healthy and not have the ups and downs, right? And the roller coaster of injuries and because they're pushing too hard and, not patient enough.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I always
Yeah.
wonder how long it takes. like how many months or years of training it takes for your body to sort of, I don't know, recycle everything and become sort of a new system. Like
Yeah,
it takes
that's it.
so much time for it to happen. And you kind of, if you're consistent, which I'm lucky to be, you start to like every 4 to 6 months go into like a new body almost. Like because
Yeah,
that process happens and you're like, whoa, like I'm a whole new athlete now. Like I can do these
yeah,
things that 6 months ago I could do, but they weren't something that I felt like I could do. Like you could do them, but now they're something that is ingrained in your system rather than
yeah.
just accessible on a race. They're now accessible at all times, if that makes sense.
Mm. I was when I was looking into like the aerobic system versus the tendon system, and I was trying to find kind of like that a little bit more of a specific answer of its adaptation periods. What I actually found that was pretty cool is for your soft tissue, your mechanical system to actually properly adapt to a load or stimulus, it's 12 weeks. It actually takes.
It's a long time.
And
Yeah.
it is, yeah, I know. It was like 10 to 12 weeks for it to fully adapt to whatever the stress or load that was being put on it, which is pretty crazy. Whereas your aerobic system, it was actually only like 4 to 6 weeks,
Yep.
right? And so I think that's kind of like the reason why I personally think a lot of injuries happen, right? Because people start to feel good in those first couple weeks, but the mechanical system hasn't caught up at the same degree as their aerobic system, right? And so I think that's where, like, in the way that you've trained is probably why, knock on when you've been able to stay pretty consistent, is because you're giving that mechanical system constantly the time to catch up and
Mm.
adapt. And it's never getting overwhelmed by the too higher intensity or too much of that stuff going on. And it's just given time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Constantly adapt in those big windows of, like you said, 4 to 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's when you can bring some training tools into it when you do feel that you're pushing that system too far, is you can start adding in things like cross training and
Mhm.
cycling, elliptical, maybe doing more time of your vertical uphill on a treadmill or stairmaster. That's when you can start to take away a bit of that musculoskeletal load as your fitness gets too high. Because the
Mhm.
worst feeling is when your fitness is going really good and you're building it, and then you have to stop because your skeletal system can't keep up. So that's when I've started to sort of add in the treadmill and the stairmaster. So you can take away training hours because you're actually getting the same amount of time doing like a high amount of good quality aerobic work, because often downhill is not really providing that anyway. So you can actually drop your training hours slightly because you're keeping the same amount of proper good aerobic work, but you're just taking away the downhill pounding, whether it's on steep terrain or flowy terrain. You're just taking that away so you
Yeah.
can be more consistent and keep building the aerobic system and not worry stress too much about musculoskeletal. Just still keep an eye on it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Do you, do you do that based off of like how you're feeling through your races, or do you like structure that and go, okay, after this event, I'm going to have this period, or is it more just like based on how you're feeling through your sessions and training?
Yeah, after a race, I'll now take 2 or 3 days off and just cross train or rest, definitely. But yeah, I'm never pushing my sessions hard enough that I'm needing like the following day to rest. So I'm usually training 7 days a week, and then when something comes up, I'll take a cross training day. But in the bulk of a block, I'll probably just train through most of it.
Mhm. Yeah, cool. Yeah. What's another thing I want to like dive into a little bit deeper is what's the what's the things you tell yourself between the good races and the bad races? What is going on in Billy's brain when you're having the good race and you're like, wow, that was just more than maybe I expected from myself in that day, and what's the difference between those days where you're like, yeah, that didn't go as planned? What changes in your head between those two contrast experiences?
Yeah, I've had a couple of unexpectedly good races, which is nice. It's nice to have, but it also is only like 10 minutes of going, oh yeah, that was really good. I'm happy, and then you sort of, I don't know, I do move on from them pretty quickly. Like within the
Yeah,
next day, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm a bit sore, and I just want to get back to training. And it's a lot of fun and a lot of joy comes out of it, but it's
yeah,
also not like I don't have big highs when it comes to like having a good race. So it's more like a surprise, like with both Transgran Canaria and Madeira Island Ultra. both of those I ran, I think 4 or 5 minutes faster than I thought I could possibly, and then 15 minutes faster than I thought I would. So, and they were big races too, like big events. So I was really surprised with those results. So that was like a couple of days of going, I really need to just readjust what my goals are with the next few years, because they're actually good runs. Like I never think of the runs that I do as being, they're very good, but I know now that I can go to some events that are like not the tier one, like the Sierra Zanelles, the Gamas, OCCs, but maybe those tier two races around the world, and I can perform really well because the fields are really strong, but they're probably not. If you have your A day and everyone else is not prioritizing that as the A race, then you can probably perform in that top 5 position, like throughout these really amazing races, and that's probably will be my goal for the next few years.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that too, and I actually think there's some big A races out there where that same thing can happen. Like, maybe not UTMB because it's so accessible for everyone, but things like Western States and Hard Rock, I actually think the barrier of entry to those ones is actually a lot lower. Because when you actually look at the depth of the top field, it's really only 20 deep, and then there's a big difference, right? You know, let's say on male and female side. Whereas at UTMB, like, there's a lot of people who can get in. So when you're looking at the start of that race, or even like a Sierra Zanelle, you're looking at like 150, like 100 people who are like good athletes, right? And and it's funny you say that, like, you could, and I even look at some of the results of like the Hard Rock or the Western States and stuff, you could kind of come in and you see the Jim Walmsley, the Kilian Jornet, like, you know, half of that top 20 don't have their day. And now you're possibly in a top 10 position, right?
Definitely. Hirokai Kai has just done this twice. Like, great runner, marathon runner, 100K road runner, awesome at Tarawera, got his golden ticket there, and then went back and top 10, 10th place last year, 10th place this year. Like, he's a professional athlete, and he's doing it exactly right. Just being consistent, being good, and you're in it. Like, it's amazing. I really love following him because he's a cool guy and cool athlete. But I think you're right. I think there is space in those long races for sure. But I've never done one, so I can't comment further.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. A lot of I was looking through like your races and stuff, and a lot of them are 20, 50. I take people through that process because I think that's a really like when we talk about patience, we talk about, you know, trying to maybe enjoy the full process of trail running. Like, you started from mainly doing these like 20K races and almost solely that, and then all of a sudden this year you've kind of like stepped up into that like 50K kind of realm, because I just saw like all of a sudden this year it's like all like 50K ranked races in like 2026 with a couple like 20s in there. So is that intentional? Is that just how things have happened? What was your, you know, planning behind that?
Yeah, definitely. So my first race being a 50K, and then I did Cozzy and Buffalo and ran really well. So I sort of knew that around that 50K, 3 to 5 hours I'd be much better at. But I also knew you should be going through the stages of trying to perform better at things you're not as good at, and building your base up and getting your race volume up, so then you sort of know what you're doing when you go to a race. But I also know that a lot of my runs over that 20K distance, they weren't very good. Like, I wasn't ever feeling prepared to race like I do now when I go to a race. I was always feeling a bit like, I don't know if I feel good to race. And then you'd race and it'd all kind of be painful and not like fun, but not in the way it is now, where it's so controlled and smooth and you finish feeling really good. It's hard to explain the difference. Maybe it's just the intensity of the short races, but I do think that I just wasn't doing it racing well because I was focusing all on the building volume of training over time. But I think it's just so worthwhile doing short races. I think it's really good. It's really fun too.
Do you think it could have been a reflection of your training and the type of racing you were doing? So because you were doing a lot of this like slower stuff, like you said, do you think that could have maybe been why the 20Ks just felt harder on the body?
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think there's a big difference between racing. Like, there is a difference, like an hour 50 to 4 hours. Like, there's a difference, but it's not going to be huge. huge. Yeah, I think more just the week prior to the race, maybe coming down from high volume. Found it hard to then taper from high volume. I should have just always raced through the high volume, which is what I did quite often when I had my better races. I just kept my volume high and raced as a session. The times when I brought my volume down, I found it very difficult. I get all sorts of just weird things happen in the 3 weeks or 2 weeks that you started to bring it down. Just like crazy inflammation, sickness, all sorts of annoying things that knock you out of the rhythm
Yeah.
of life, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. The old taper niggles, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even the past 12 months, there was 350Ks I've done with no taper except for the week of the race, just like keeping it easy Monday to Friday. So two in Italy that I did the week before, it was 150K and like 6,000 climbing, and then Yandina as well the week before, I think it was 150K and 3 to 4,000 meters of climbing. Like that's not a taper if you're doing that much volume the week before. Yes, the few days, the 4 or 5 days before I'm pulling it back, but those all went really, really well. So yeah, tapering is very important, but at the same time, rhythm in life is very important too, and feeling yourself all the time. And if taper throws you out of that, then can affect things a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love that because I think there is a lot of that where it's like if you're having to taper, you're probably a little bit overtrained almost, right? Like if you're having
Especially
to
if
do
you're
this
peak
massive
weeking.
pullback.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like because like you said, it should feel very natural. Like you should almost be finishing your weeks feeling good, right? And if you're finishing your weeks feeling cooked and feeling like you need to like cut training, significantly, then yeah, it's probably a sign that maybe those weeks might be a little bit too much at that time, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. One thing I was gonna say too, when I was looking at some of the contrast of like your races, because it happens to us in the racing world where we go to these events and we put all this weight onto position or time or whatever it is. And so I noticed in like I think it was Trans Gran Canaria where you finished 10th, and I was looking at the time of that one, and then I was looking at the Madeira one where you finished second, and I was looking at the time. They're a couple Ks off, and I think the Trans Gran Canaria had more elevation in it, and you were only like 12 minutes apart or something, but yet your positions were pretty different.
Oh,
What
yeah.
race? What race do you think you actually had the better race out of those two?
Yeah, I've thought about this more now because I've got asked this question. So, Transgran Canaria, I had a better race, but I was not as fit and prepared because I'd picked up a niggle from falling over in a race 8 weeks
Yeah,
before. Because I
yeah.
couldn't. It's a downhill race. It's 2,800. It's like Buffalo, but way more technical and hard,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
5K
yeah,
longer. Yeah,
yeah.
and so it's very downhill specific. So I didn't get any of that work in. So I wasn't as prepared, but I actually executed really well. So it went really well because I was 12
Yeah,
minutes behind the winner, and that winner is OCC twice on podiums,
yeah,
and there's big prize money, and there was a lot of guys who are very good in that race. Like really,
yeah,
I couldn't believe my result there. I was like,
yeah,
wow, like cool.
yeah,
And then Madeira was I was much fitter and stronger, definitely, and I should have had a better race, but I definitely, without the depth in that race, when you know you're in second and no one's going to catch you, you definitely pull everything back a bit, and I didn't execute the runnable bits in there's like 15, 20K where you can run a lot more, and I didn't execute that well. Like I should have really been on to fueling a bit harder and pushing a bit harder and fueling a bit harder until the end rather than pull back because, oh, there's a pro athlete ahead of me. Of course he's going to beat me. He should beat me easily. You shouldn't be thinking
yeah,
like that. You should be thinking, no, I just need to still, I know I'm going to come second, but I still need to keep the hammer on. I still need to keep
yeah,
pushing. So, yeah.
yeah. That hindsight, eh?
But you know it in the race too, but because racing's
Yeah.
hard, it's like, it's so easy to just like take a step off like a foot off the pedal. Yeah, and I won't be able
Yeah.
to do that next weekend. Next weekend, I won't be able to keep a foot off the pedal at all. That will be for
Oh,
sure.
transcend. Let's go. Um, what's uh, what's the biggest what's the biggest mental shift that you think you've had in training that has created the most difference and given you the best performance back from having that change of mentality? Is there anything that sticks out to you?
I think now I'm just prioritizing what I want to do more. So rather than keeping everything's very general still, but I obviously want to perform better at running uphill. I'm a heavier guy, but I also know that my strength is holding a moderate effort for a long period of time. I'm sort of building into that strength over time. I haven't, my strength more is downhill running, especially on more technical rough terrain where it beats up your legs a lot. I find I can recover very well downhill, even moving quickly on hard, difficult terrain. But I haven't prioritized that because it's just something that can be done quite quickly for me, I think. So I'm really prioritizing the long, extended climbing. And since I've started doing that a lot more, speaking to people like Ian Best, who's amazing at doing long, extended climbs, sort of working out how to build a big base for that type of training. I think that's probably made the biggest difference. And it's something I really enjoy, just getting into like a grindy sort of monotonous pace uphill and just keeping it there.
Do you think continuing to stack like the weeks of bigger volume that you're doing is also benefiting you becoming a better climber? Do you think you've had to like do specific things to become a better climber?
Definitely. I could never be a better climber off just doing sessions uphill. I have to do a lot of bulk of volume running uphill, and then I can earn the right to actually start to do a session on a Stairmaster on an uphill treadmill, or a weighted session or a speed session. I can't benefit off those sessions unless I underpin a lot of volume on that exact same looking terrain for a long
Yeah.
period of time to then make adaptations to it in the future. I couldn't just do rolling terrain and then start doing like
Yeah.
VK sessions. It just wouldn't work. Just
Yeah, and I love how you use that word. I got to earn the right to do the sessions. I think that's cool, and I
yeah,
think that's such a good way of looking at training. Like, it's like I've got to earn the right to do the fancy, exciting kind of sessions that are going to give me that extra edge, right? And by doing that, it's like week to week, hitting the sessions, getting up, running, doing the easy stuff, right? And earning that right so that you can, have some fun doing maybe some of those flashier sessions. Yeah.
yeah, and you know when it's right too because the sessions don't feel hard. They just come to you
Yeah.
rather than force. They just like come to you and it feels quite easy to do, even though it's
Mm.
quite hard.
Yeah. No, I love that. We'll start. We'll start wrapping it up here. But what are some of the biggest, like, for people listening, if they're looking at some of those changes to make in their training or different things like that? Like, I think I have a pretty good idea of what you're gonna say. But what would you say are the best practical takeaways or things that you could give to someone if they wanted to like put that into practice now?
Probably take the like things around your life and reduce the stress and keep it more relaxed. And then for some people that might be actually just relaxing the the pace of each of your runs, like not rushing out the door and going, I've got to get in this 60 minutes in, I've got to do 12K in that 60 minutes because that's my program. Like don't force everything to be stressful and like you've got to jam it all in into one thing. You can just take it cruisy, take it relaxed and easy. Like 10K less than last week isn't actually going to make you worse because you've had to slow down a bit and just take it more relaxed or take a bit of extra, yeah, recovery. I never say people to train less, but if, yeah, never train less, but if you can just maybe keep the duration the same and just take it a bit easier so then it allows for more recovery. And yeah, I think that's maybe a better
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, and that's I really like that, and I find that's the one thing as a coach, as someone who's giving someone a structure or a plan, which in itself is structure. It does feel like it's rigid, right? I always try to communicate and explain, like, and that's what I've always had difficulty with because I've been of a very similar thing of like, yeah, I've got 60 minutes in here today as like kind of a goal, but it's like, if I feel shitty, I probably might do 45, right? Or if I feel really good, I might do an hour and 20, right?
Mm.
Like, just depending on the day and how things go. And it's like, I try to communicate that with my athletes too, because like you said, it's, you need to have that flexibility kind of within all of those sessions, right? And not, if the work's screwing you and putting all this pressure on you and there's 90 minutes in there, it's like, well, let's just do 60 minutes and give yourself time to breathe around the run, right? It's not going to, it's not going to, like you said, change your performance at the end of the week. The fact that you were out there and you still got a decent session in and you continuing to do that is probably going to be the thing that continues to help you perform, right?
Yeah, yeah, don't create stress around the training, like extra stress.
Yeah,
Yeah, never
yeah,
plug in, never have like 60 minutes from when you wake up to when you got to go to work and try to do 60 minutes. Like just do 20 or 30. Like
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
don't create stress around the training and around the environment that you're in to try to better yourself.
Yeah, totally agree. Um, well, you know what? I want to go into this a little bit because it'll be
Yeah,
fun and people will probably be following along. But what's your mindset going into Transcend? Tell me what's
I'm
going
really
on.
excited. I'm quite comfortable with where my fitness has been and how to run like over sort of 4.5 to 6 hours. I think I'm quite comfortable in holding an effort that's pretty good. I think the more problem will be not pushing hard enough. I think that that might be, I might finish that race and go, oh, I should have just pushed a bit harder because it's sometimes hard to know exactly where you're at when you're racing over 4 or 5 hours because you can't do it in training. And it's hard to get an idea of what your body can handle. But I think I'm quite excited. I think it's good because Charlie's there and Charlie's just an awesome runner, especially on those like 50K races that you can spend a lot of time running. So I think it's good to have a chance to race against him because Australians don't get to race against each other too much for some reason. But yeah, that will be really good. And then if Ben Leeson's lining up as well, he's shown that he's really, really strong runner. So that will be, it's where he trains too. So it'll be really good to see how he
I was
goes as
gonna
well.
say that's gonna be his big thing, right? Is he's got really good familiarity with the course, right? Like he'll be the guy that if you're out there and you go, why is he just like pushing all of a sudden? He's pushing
Yeah,
for a reason, right? He
definitely.
knows
Yeah, yeah,
where to push and where he can relax and stuff, right? And that I think that's like that can be a very powerful tool going into races, and I think that's why we see a lot of like athletes, like even like Michael Dunstan winning UTA, right? Like him knowing every inch of that course is probably a massive reason that allowed him to be so controlled the entire time, right? Europeans always winning UTMB, right? Like they know the areas, they know the terrain, and so how do you go up against someone like that? What do you think when you're like, hey, this guy knows the course, he's going to be super familiar? Do you just lean into your run, or do you have a way of approaching that?
yeah. I'll just lean into my run. I think, like over that distance and even marathon or even shorter, you never really see people. So even if you are trying to go out with people and stick with them, you end up being 30 seconds apart and never seeing them and thinking they're an hour ahead of you. And they're like
Yeah,
a minute ahead, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
this is why did I even think that? So, yeah, now I'm much more comfortable with just running your own race and like allowing. Sometimes your stomach's a bit off in the start, so you can't hold that fast pace to start with, and just got to allow it to relax. I mean, even at Yandina, which was not a big competitive event, I didn't take on a gram of carbohydrates because I couldn't take anything because I was just sick in my stomach. I thought it had come good, so I just drank water instead. So you just have to
yeah.
make sort of adjustments, and if you're dictating your whole thing, your whole race on someone else's pace or their aid stations or their descending anything, then it could all fall apart because you're not managing your own
Mm,
things well.
yeah. Would you be a fan of, because like there's one thing like I think it's starting to form and develop in overseas, but not so much here. Is like the idea of like pack running some of these ultras, like where it's like
Nah, nah,
almost
no,
like
I could.
sprinting in shape.
No way. No, just Vincent Bouillard it the whole way. Do your own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like you
Because
got to
like
think.
you
I
start.
think. Sorry, but I think Vincent, like, just the way he performs is due to this thing of just it's his own race and his
Yeah,
own training and his own strategies. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure I don't know him at all actually, but I'm sure he's not the most genetically gifted of the current crop of ultra trail runners out there.
Yeah, but he just does his thing. He follows
He's
his
just
plan.
so good
Yeah,
though. Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, that's exciting. You say Charlie Hamilton's racing?
Yeah, yeah, he is. Yeah. As
Yeah.
far as
Oh,
I
I
know,
didn't
he's
even
on the
know it.
list. Yeah.
Name on the list. Yeah, yeah. Oh, cool. There you go. That's exciting. Yeah, that'll be a good little push. And then you've got what the likes of like I think there's like Ben Butler, Ben Burgess, a couple other names in there and stuff like that.
Yeah, a few. The men's has gotten a bit less exciting. A few people have, I think, maybe injured or dropped down to the 40.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the men's is not as exciting. The women's field is more exciting. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one or two in the top five. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've got some really strong women racing, and I think I hope they spend a bit more time filming because I think there's going to be a bit of live film there. So I
Yeah,
hope they keep track of the women's race a little bit more
yeah.
strongly than the
Saying
men's because
you
that
and
would be.
yeah, you saying you and Charlie scared them all off.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I haven't even raced. I've never raced over 56K. I don't think. Like I've
Oh,
never
really? Oh, it's the
really.
longest distance. It's your
Oh,
longest race.
yeah, yeah. I think the duration will be quite similar to Madeira because it
Yeah,
was very technical. That was
yeah,
actually 58 or 59K in the end. So I know I've been close to it actually. Yeah, no, I lie. I've
yeah,
been pretty close. Yeah.
yeah. Because I think like you're looking at, I think if you guys are running well, you'll be under 6 hours. Compared, because I think last year the fastest was I think Dimuentes was 6 hours and eight or something like that, but he went off course and stuff.
Yeah, from
Um,
from the course, it's not that whole course after watching all the footage, it's not dissimilar to Southeast Queensland. Like
mm,
a lot of the climbs, you're only going up 2 to 3, actually
yeah,
maybe just 200 meters, and there's some
I
rocky
think the biggest,
sections.
yeah, he's only about 300 meters. Yeah, it's the biggest climb. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good amount of vert stacked into 65K, but yeah, it's like I said, it's not dissimilar to what you run around here, and it's nice, cool, dry weather there too. So, I think honestly, around 5:35 to 5:45 will be the time that the winners will run, as long as it's not too conservative and everyone's fit and healthy and no sickness. A lot of sickness going around, so hopefully, yeah, no one
yeah.
picks up anything.
Do you prefer the longer sustained climbs or the short, sharpier, punchier races?
Oh, definitely longer sustained climbs because I don't think people
Yeah,
train them quite as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just gives you feel like you got a little bit of an upper hand in that terrain.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably plays into my strength slightly more, but also if I was in a context of racing in the Alps, it would probably be my weakness.
Yeah,
Probably.
those guys are really trained there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's it. It's all about who you're around, eh? No,
Yeah.
sweet. Well, hey, man, I think we'll start to wrap it up there for you. But the last thing, just to close it off, is what's the mountain you're climbing now? What's the challenge? What's the thing that has caught your focus and attention at the moment? Whether it's a challenge, whether it's a goal or ambition, what's the current thing really driving you at the moment?
It's definitely stitching together like a lifestyle, work, training, racing, traveling as one sort of in one place rather than it being all over the place regularly. It's sort of in one area. It's like a sort of overall overarching goal to get everything in one area so you can sort of grow
Yeah,
more in each, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So yeah, find the place to be, to train, to keep everything stable, and then grow in each aspect of your career, your training, your racing, family, everything. So that's more that will be driving me for years, decades, I'd say.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that though. That's because that's something that's gonna, yeah, it's gonna keep you excited and it's gonna keep you pushing towards something that you're passionate about, which is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, and
All
thanks
right.
thanks again for you for talking about your in the earlier years to talking about your move to Katoomba and how you wanted to build your life. It was definitely influential for me.
Oh yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, but hey man, thank you so much for your time. That was a great conversation. I got a lot of it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to get some great pieces out of that. And yeah, it's just great to catch up with you again, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Quinton.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, yeah, thanks, guys. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, a follow, whatever it is. And yeah, if you do have any questions for Billy Curtis or any time, how can anyone find you or, connect to you if they wanted to reach out?
Oh, that's more difficult. I don't really answer anything on Instagram, but I think I actually have my WhatsApp numbers on my Instagram. So maybe, yeah, send a message through the WhatsApp, and I'm always on replying to people. I keep everything on there.
Sweet, sounds good. Well, we'll look forward to following you in Transcend and yeah, have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
And that was my conversation with Billy Curtis. I hope you enjoyed. I know I really enjoyed. I got a lot of really cool pieces from that I'm going to utilize within my own training and coaching, and I hope you did too. I really admire the way that he looks at running with such simplicity, and I think it's something that everyone can learn a little bit from. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And if you want to see more of these conversations, please like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is on whatever platform you're on. Share the stories on Instagram. Whatever you think would help us out, that would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Happy trails.